a ghost town. Y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. Yeah, we're lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page, but we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay, Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out, till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay, red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 No time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show, powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine on a hump day Wednesday. I'm a little under the weather this morning, Mo. Got a 3-year-old who is the biggest germ carrier I've ever seen in my entire life. I feel like daycare is just an incubator for sickness, and that's what I'm dealing with.
You won't get no argument from me at all, partner. Welcome to everybody that's joining us live. I'm a little bit under the weather as well, though, but I have a different situation. I don't have a 3-year-old. I've got a 13-year-old who she thinks she has every kind of sickness imagined, so she looks it up online all the time, and she goes, "I've got that. That's what I've got." And I got, "No, you've got a cold, and you're just spreading it around the house, and now I'm stuffy and I'm congested." So, yeah, look, the morning show, guys, toughing it out for you.
That's right. That's what we do here. Mo, another day in the soap opera that is Shohei Ohtani. I thought it was going to die down a little bit after his comments the other day. And then, ESPN, being the top tier journalists that they are, they have pivoted. And Mo, they just want an answer to one question. And when I present the question to you, you're going to think, well, that's a pretty easy question to answer. ESPN just wants to know, who did you report the theft to? That's it. Just give us the name of the authorities that you keep referring to when you say that you were going to let the authorities handle this, and you've reported this to the authorities, and the authorities are going to take over the investigation. All ESPN asked was, hey, who are the authorities? Because we would like to ask them some questions. We understand that it's out of your hands now. So can you just give us the name of the authorities, and then we'll start asking them questions, and we'll stop bugging you and asking you questions, Mo. And they couldn't do that. Now, let's be fair. We don't know how in-depth the investigation is. Maybe they're not able to say. But let's not pretend that, this is ESPN's first rodeo. They've reached out to all the normal authorities that you would report such thing to, and they have all said there is currently not an open investigation, with the exception of the FBI. They don't really comment one way or the other on things, so they didn't provide a clear answer. But the FBI did confirm that they're working with the IRS on that side of things, as far as the illegal gambling, IRS tax fraud part of it goes. So there was some confirmation that there is something going on over there with that. But Mo, as of this morning, there is zero confirmation that anybody is looking into the actual theft, the $4.5+ million theft allegation that has been placed against Mizuhara by Team Ohtani. What do you make of it?
It just seems like the plot thickens. So with Mizuhara, what we do know is obviously the other investigation into the illegal gambling ring, his name will be tied to that for sure. Obviously,
for sure. Yep.
We get that part. That's a given. But there is this part that started all this, like you said, the actual theft, the removal of the funds from Shohei Ohtani's account. I have not heard anybody actually even talk about that. Like that's a crime. Is Mizuhara, has he retained a lawyer? When will charges be filed for that crime? Right, like you said, and what authorities have you? When you realized your team, I guess your accountant, your agent, realized this money is missing, who do we call? What authorities did they contact? And how long? What I want to know is, when did you actually find out the funds were missing? Like, don't tell me that it was the day that he was in front of the team saying what he said. Like, oh no, so he's missing $4 million, but that's me, guys. He loaned it to me to cover my gambling debts. I've got a problem with gambling, and he covered those. Like that day, again, and I've heard this over and over again. I didn't say Shohei Ohtani gambled. I'm not accusing him of that. I'm not at all. But what I am saying is, those big amounts of money, $500,000 wired multiple times, Chris. Your bank, their number one job is to protect you, but in doing so, they have to cover their own rear ends, if you know what I'm saying. Usually there's a conversation, Mr. Ohtani, I don't want to bother you again. This is so-and-so from the bank. I can't help but notice this is the third $500,000 wire transfer. I just want to make sure, sir, that this is you. You know what I mean? You're aware of it. And if it is, I'm sorry for the inconvenience and bothering you. This is what we do. We cover all bases just to make sure. Someone took that call and had that conversation and said, no, we're good. We're good. But the 500,000, I know all about it. Because your bank contacts you. They contact you. They contact me when there's a large sum or purchase that's out of the blue. That's what happens. And I think that's odd that nobody's asked that question.
And Mo, I know some people are going to say, well, maybe he's not going to roll. I mean, he did roll over on his friend, but maybe he's not going to press charges against his friend. Maybe it's going to be, you're fired. Don't ever talk to me again. But I'm not going to push the agenda and have you end up in jail. You're already dealing with the IRS thing.
True.
Probably going to go to jail for that.
True.
I'm not going to pile on. You know what? Fine. I can see that happening. I can see him saying, I cut you out of my life. That's enough for me. I don't need to see you go to jail to make myself feel better about it. Yeah. Then why is your team saying they reported it to the authority? That's the issue. We're not mad because you're not going to report him to the authorities.
Right.
We're not mad because you haven't told us if you have or if you're going to. We're mad because your team has come out and said you already did it. Your team has come out and said, we've reported this to the authorities. The authorities are taking care of it. Your team said that. If your team is going to make that statement, then just answer the follow-up question. Who are the authorities? You don't have to get specific. We made a call to the Los Angeles Police Department. We put in a call to the FBI. We called Homeland Security. That's it. Just tell us what you did. Because now when we go and we call Homeland Security, if they say, can't talk about it, we're not going to comment on that. Oh, damn. Kind of expected that from Homeland Security. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But what we don't expect is you to say you called the authorities, and then you don't want to say which authorities you called. Because now we're thinking you probably didn't call the authorities, which, by the way, is okay, Mo. You didn't need to report it to the authorities. But what you got to stop doing is saying crap that's not true. Either you did or you didn't, and we could avoid this entire conversation if you just said, yeah, we called the cops, local cops. And we don't know what they did with it after that. They could have shot it up the ladder to someone higher. We have no idea. It's out of our hands now. We're moving on. That's it, Mo. That's all you have to do.
And guess what?
If you did it.
And to your point, what's going to happen? I don't care who the reporter may be. You're going to ask the local cops or the authorities or the chiefs, hey, what's going on? When did you? And he's going to say, it's an ongoing investigation. I can't give you any more. And that'll be the end of it. That'll stonewall you. But at least you have somebody to go to and say, oh, they did contact them. Again, I'm not saying he's guilty of anything. And I know people feel like it. I'm simply saying that if it's as black and white as people want it to be, why isn't as black and why doesn't it come off, Chris, as black and white as people want it to be?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm right there with you, partner. Last night in the NBA, the LeBron-less Los Angeles Lakers beat the Milwaukee Bucks in double overtime. Big win for the Lakers as they put distance between themselves and the 10th seed in the West. Big win for the Lakers as they try to catch up to a couple of the seeds in front of them prior to the start of the playoffs. Maybe, hopefully, trying to make a run to 6th seed to get out of the play-in. Not saying it's going to happen, but wins like this along the way definitely get them one step closer. Mo, I hate to do this to you as a Lakers fan, because I feel like we've had this conversation multiple times, and I always frame it the same way. Is it a big win for the Lakers, or is it just a bad loss for the Milwaukee Bucks? Remember, the Milwaukee Bucks, we stopped talking in the last couple of weeks because they've been winning games, and they've been doing their thing. But as the playoffs come around, you're going to have that conversation, if you're a Milwaukee fan, of, is this little run they went on, is this really the Bucks? Or are the Bucks kind of a pig in lipstick heading into the playoffs, in that they can be a really good regular season team, but in the playoffs, what do you need? You need people who can get their shot off, and you need to be able to make stops on defense when it matters the most. Yeah, we know that Giannis can get a shot. We know that Dame can get a shot. Is that it? Who else is getting their shot on Milwaukee? And more importantly, Mo, who's getting the stop when it matters the most in the playoffs on defense? So, big win for the Lakers in the standings. But is this more an indictment of what the Lakers are trending upwards? Or is this more of a possible crack in the armor of the Bucks aren't nearly as good as their record might suggest over the last 2 or 3 weeks?
I actually think it's both. It's a big win for the Lakers because their record without LeBron now has gone up to 6-4, which means you do have capable players that can initiate offense, that can make shots and create for others, like an Austin Reeves, who was huge last night in that win. D'Angelo Russell didn't have a good shooting night, but he made a couple of timely threes. And Anthony Davis was a superstar. That was a superstar meeting a superstar. He played Giannis statistically even, but late in the game, when the money was on the line, he outplayed Giannis. And there's a big gap between Anthony Davis and Giannis in one area. It is Giannis's kryptonite. It is, I think, one of the reasons they went out and got Damian Lillard. Giannis is not a shooter. And late in games, he's not taking any jump shots. Everything's going to be a rim attack. And if you can foul him, there's his kryptonite. Not a good free throw shooter. Wanted no parts of the free throw line late last night. And as I'm watching the game, when they fouled him late, I was like, take that foul all day and live with it. Take it. And he just blew both free throws. And I really think that Milwaukee's weaknesses air their ways again in that game. The Lakers are not a very athletic team, but when you put them against Milwaukee, they look really quick and athletic. Milwaukee is the least athletic team in the NBA. They are slow on both ends of the floor. And while Giannis can be special at times because of his athleticism, he's an athlete. He's a freak athlete, and Dame can make timely shots, Chris. When I look at them as a whole, I don't see what people saw when they made the Damian Lillard trade. I don't see the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA Finals. I think this is a team that could make it to the conference finals, or they can lose in the first round. I really believe that, because defensively, they're saying they improved under Doc Rivers. Right. They were god-awful under Adrian Griffin, but they had a better record if you think about it. They've gotten a little bit better defensively. They've gone from god-awful defensively to just very bad defensively. You're not going to win games with that team trying to outscore other teams and not being able to get stops. For the Lakers, this is the reason why some people overrate the Lakers. They see a win like this and they go, if they get LeBron, when LeBron comes back, this team can go to the conference finals. Yes, any team is capable of a run. But the problem with the Lakers is there's an inconsistency. And maybe it could be literally something as simple as letting Austin Reeves have the ball more, letting him be more of a prominent part of the offense. You paid him all this money. Let's see what he can do, because I feel like late in games, Austin Reeves can cook. He can create for himself. He can make shots. So do I think the Lakers will get that 6th seed? No, because I don't think they'll win enough and the teams ahead of them will lose enough. They'll be in the play-in, but I like their chances in the play-in, whoever they match up with. And I'll say this about the Lakers, and this is not as a Laker fan, this is me as a basketball fan. If they get the 7th spot, if they match up with OKC, it will be OKC's worst nightmare. It is a horrible matchup for OKC because OKC, as talented as they are, they're soft and they're small, and the Lakers they're just a horrible matchup for them. They maul them.
It also feels like deja vu because once again, we're going to talk about the Boston Celtics and what happens late in games randomly with the Boston Celtics. If you look at their entire season so far, they are the best team in the NBA, consistency-wise, start to finish, for where we are currently in the season. But when you start breaking down their losses, Mo, one of the big things that sticks out is they've blown huge leads in the fourth quarter this season. And then you look back at their last couple of years in the playoffs, and they've blown leads in the playoffs in the second half and in the fourth quarter. So, Mo, what is it with the Celtics where they just can't maintain leads, especially against teams where they should be maintaining leads?
The Celtics are a team that lives by the three. Nobody takes more threes than they do. Not even the Warriors. Nobody takes more threes than they do. And they're actually a very good three-point shooting team, Chris, but too many times in late game situations, when it's time to put a game away and you're up 12 or 15, they're still going for home run shots. And at some point, to me, you've got to go against the analytics. It's okay to attack the basket and get to the foul line. It's okay to shoot a mid-range. It's okay to turn down a very good 3 to get a great 2. Do you know what I'm saying? And they don't diversify their offense. And too many times late in games, the ball movement that you see throughout the game, that goes away and it becomes ISO ball. It's Jason Tatum left, Jason Tatum right, or it's your turn, Jaylen Brown left, Jaylen Brown right, and everybody else is standing around stagnant watching them play, and they don't make in-game adjustments. Whatever happens with the Celtics happens, and that's on the players, but that's on Joe Mazzulla as well. So anybody that thinks the Celtics should be the favorites in the East, that totally makes sense to me. I'm on board with that. I don't even disagree with that. It's not a lock they're going to go to the NBA Finals, because should they get the wrong matchup and they go up against a team that slows the game down and makes it about half-court execution, I don't think that bodes well for Boston.
Despite not playing last night, LeBron still made some headlines with some comments that he made, Mo. LeBron James is tired of the one-on-one mindset in the NBA. He said it bothers the F out of him. And he is specifically referring to some of the younger all-stars in the league that have this ISO mindset, and he's over it. He thinks it's terrible for basketball. He doesn't like that it continues to happen. Is this the old guy saying, get off my lawn? What is your take? Why is he talking about it? Is it something did we need LeBron's take on 101 ISO ball in the league and the young stars doing it? Where do you sit there, Mo?
I think this is kind of weird coming from him. I'm like, and who are you talking about? Like, if you're going to bring that up, name names. Like, you talking about Luka? Who are you talking about? Trae Young? Who is it Anthony Edwards? Who are you talking about that's doing this? Like, there's certain guys that we know a big part of their game is that. So I'm like, just say the names if that's how you feel. it's strange because he is part of this era, right? He's still part of this era. And for him to be suddenly turn around and become get off my lawn guy, like really? Like, what are you talking about? Like I want everybody to know that yes, he's 38 and he's been around 20 plus years, but this is his era. It's not new to him. And by the way, he's made his bones. He's put up his numbers, and he's gone one on. Look, LeBron is a terrific passer, and he definitely makes his teammates better. But he's a ball dominant player. The ball is always in his hands, so it's either going to be a shot or a pass. In a lot of ways, he's an ISO guy at times too. So I think that's kind of strange coming from him because you could say the way Luka plays is very similar to LeBron. The only difference is obviously Luka never defended at the level that LeBron defended at. But if you want to talk about stat lines, we got Luka almost averaging a triple double. I think he's doing like what 31, 9, and 9. So I think LeBron is sounding like someone my age. Actually, like, come on, LeBron, like you're playing right now, and these guys you're talking about, a lot of them are going to be the torchbearers when you move on. I don't think this is the time to be calling them out. I know Adam Silver's probably like, LeBron, chill, calm down. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man, because we have to have life after you, so chill.
Mo, if you ask any basketball fan to give you 3 names to who they think would be in the running for MVP this season, they're probably going to give you the same 3 potential names, with those names being Joker, Luka, and SGA. Now, once those 3 names are mentioned, they might go different ways as far as where they're going to fall. Shaq decided last night that SGA is the way that he is going to go. I think that might be the least popular of the 3 names tossed out there in the MVP race. But Mo, what say you? Do you think there is a legitimate argument to make for SGA to take it over Joker or Luka?
No. I think his only argument would be he's a terrific player, first of all. Shea Gilgeous is and he plays both sides of the floor. But for him to win MVP, to me, Chris, they would have to have the best record in the West. They'd have to sit up top of the West. Because I'm looking at Joker and I'm looking at what Denver's done since the All-Star break. I think they're 15-2. And to me, Joker is the reigning MVP. I think it's Joker's MVP to lose, and I don't think he will. I don't think SGA's done enough to, let's say, dethrone the king. So as much as I love SGA and I love the steps that OKC is making as they're developing, he's not the best. You know what it is? They're getting it right. The best player in basketball right now is Joker. The guy that's going to win the MVP, I believe, again, is Joker. And there's no slight against SGA. It's no slight against anybody that's in the MVP rankings because they deserve that accolade. They deserve those flowers. But I just don't see SGA overtaking Joker. I don't. I mean, right now, Joker's the most complete basketball player in terms of what he can do and how he can impact the game in the NBA. And that's me saying this knowing, yes, he's not a great defender, but he competes well enough defensively. And he dominates games, Chris, by the way that he thinks the game, the way he moves the ball, the way he controls pace. He controls pace, Chris, like a point guard, and that's very unique. So to me, it's Joker and then everybody else.
Is there anything that Luka can do to get there?
He can average 40 a game. I mean, the thing with Luka is incredible numbers, incredible offensive talent, and yet I think the Mavs are they 6th? I think they're 6th or 7th. So I think for Luka to have a shot, he'd have to move up, right? Get to like the 4th seed or something like that. But if you're not ahead of Joker, and I'm looking at Joker's numbers across the boards, it's Joker.
And Mo, Derek brings up a great point in the chat, which is, Joker could potentially win it every season. And I'm okay with that. If he's the best player year over year for a 6-year run, I'm not the kind of guy that says, well, we should give it to somebody. Why? like, why give it to someone else? Because we're tired of him being the best player? Well, if he's the best player, then someone will be better. Like, I don't care if he wins it 6 years in a row. If he really is the best player 6 years in a row.
Right. And his team, Chris, is always in the mix, right, as a contender. It'd be one thing if, well, Joker keeps putting up these numbers, but the Denver's like 6 seed, 7 seed. Like, no, they're right at the top. And I want to remind everybody this. As terrific as Jamal Murray is, and he is terrific, he's a big-time postseason player. Look at Denver's roster top to bottom. Joker doesn't play with a second all-star. I mean, in my mind, I think Jamal Murray's an all-star, but the reality is it's Joker and everybody else. There are no all-stars on that team except for Joker. That's not a loaded team. It's a terrific team, and everybody knows their role, and they play together as a unit, but Luka plays with Kyrie. LeBron plays with AD. SGA's got Chet. He's got Jalen Williams. Like, I'm just saying what Joker does is that much more impressive.
At this time, we're going to bring the NFL genius himself, Gene from Wire to Wire Sports Podcast, onto the show. We have NFL things to discuss, and who better to discuss those things with than the man himself. Gene, welcome to the show. How are you this morning, sir?
Pretty good. Had our first softball game last night. So
how'd that go for you?
How'd it go?
10-9 win. I'll take it.
Hey, close.
That's the way softball should be played. No 21-2. That's not fun.
Yeah, it's not fun for anyone. It's not fun for anyone.
Especially for whoever's got 2.
Exactly.
And then the umpire just wants to get out of there because it's literally no fun for anyone across the board.
Absolutely. Great game. Though.
NFL changes when it comes to the rules are abound. There's like 4 or 5 different ones out there. We want to get your reaction to all of them. Let's start with the kickoff rule. So basically what's going to happen is everyone has their own zone now. And once everyone is in their zone, nothing can happen until the ball hits the ground or the ball touches a player in their zone. Then everyone can start getting off to the races and we can start having an actual kickoff return. Gene, the NFL wants to bring suspense back to the NFL kickoff game. I agree. It's kind of gone away the past handful of seasons. I don't know if I've looked at that and said, man, I wish we had more suspense in the NFL kickoff game, but they're not wrong. It's not very suspenseful. So where do you sit on the NFL kickoff rule to start off these rule changes?
I mean, I'm glad they made it or changed the kickoff rule. It's one of the changes I'm in complete favor of. I think that being able to actually have actual play on the kickoff instead of just watching a guy kick the ball through the end zone and having the teams walk out, having whole special teams out there to not block anyone, to have nobody blocked and just kick the ball through the end zone. Yeah, I love the update. I think it'll have a little bit more pizzazz on the kickoff. I think teams, listen, you've seen Pittsburgh go out and sign Cordero Patterson. Is that to be their kickoff specialist? You could think about that. I just want to see more out of the kickoff game. And I think that'll help it.
And you're right, Gene. I mean, you look at shows like Hard Knocks and all those other training camp battle that happened leading into the NFL season. And, 10 years ago, the conversation was, well, he does this on special teams. He could make the team because he's a special teams guy and they need this on special teams. Then you look at the last 4 or 5 years in the league, there's nothing happening on special teams. So as long as you have a kicker who can kick appropriately, once the kicker is done doing his job, there are no returns. So you're seeing guys that weren't getting jobs because they were good on special teams because there really wasn't a need for special teams. But once you open that door again, now you're going to have a situation where you might have a 4th or 5th wide receiver who maybe normally wouldn't make the team, but now he's an asset on kick or punt returns, and now he might have himself a spot because of that where he normally wouldn't, and I am all for that. But, Gene, let's talk about the one that I think I've looked. I think only Kenyon Drake is supporting this. I looked for another NFL player who had anything positive to say, offensive or defensive side of the ball, and only Kenyon Drake was happy that the hip tackle is out of the game. He referenced an injury in 2021 when he was a Dolphin, basically saying that tackle took away half his season, and he hasn't been the same since. Gene, if you're a defensive player what do you even do now? Because if the player is in front of you, you have a window. You got to hit him in that window. If they're not directly in front of you, if you're behind them or they're about to go by you, don't you dare grab on. Because if you grab on and go to the ground and they come with you, you're probably getting 15-yard penalty. Because that's what it is. Anything around the waist where you're pulling them down using your weight, which, by the way, that's tackling. But if you do that, it could be 15 yards and a first down. So what do you do now if you're a defensive player?
They need to overturn this ASAP based on all the rules, like all the backfire from the players. This is terrible for football. Just put flags on their waists and have them pull flags at this point. It's an absolute joke that they banned the hip drop tackle. Think of it this way, right? Why did players start tackling, and why did the hip drop tackle become so prevalent? Oh, because I couldn't hit him high and I couldn't hit him low. So now I grab him by the waist and pull him down by that. Well, you can't do that either. So you can't go low. You can't go high. You can't go middle. Where can you go when you're tackling in the NFL? It doesn't make sense. Oh, and if a player's running by you and you're like the last line of defense and you can grab onto them, they're like a foot ahead of you. What do? I don't know what you do at that point. Do you just take your arm and sweep the leg? Like, is that what we're doing at this point?
Hope for the best.
It's terrible. That rule is awful. It's football. And Kenyon Drake, I'm sorry that half your season got taken away from you because of a hip drop tackle. You're playing a violent sport. Injuries happen. You know what? We should ban turfs because all of Aaron Rodgers' season got taken away from him because of turf. Let's just ban that. Oh, by the way, we have to ban outside interference. Like these players, just put them in a bubble all year because we don't want any players taken away from the game because they had crimes happen outside the sport. Like, I know I'm being a little bit crazy when I say this, but like, what are we going to ban next? What's next? And I know it's an offensive game because when you look at quarterbacks from the 80s and 90s versus quarterbacks today, 4,000 yards is just like, oh, you didn't throw for 4,000 yards last year? Oh, you're not really good, are you? When you threw for 4,000 yards in 1980, you were Dan Marino or Fran Tarkenton. Like, that's who you were. It's a joke what's happening to the NFL on the defensive side of the ball. Next thing, they're going to ban zone coverage. Just got to play man. That's it.
It confuses the quarterback too much. He's taking extra hits because he can't read the zone as fast as he can read man. Right. So we got to get rid of zone.
It's going to be the new illegal defense.
Gene, a couple of other tweaks they made. If you get one of your first two challenges correct, you get a third challenge. That's fine. I
like that.
I mean, unless you're my head coach who never gets a challenge right ever. I think he's 1 for 13 in his career with challenges. The other one that Mo and I really liked was, and we've already seen this. They've been doing it like unofficially, but they throw a penalty, and then sometimes by the time they pick up the flag and talk to us about it, they've already decided in New York or up in the booth that it wasn't really that. So they give you there is no penalty for whatever they thought it was. Now they've actually put that into the rule book. There's specific ones they're actually going to do that for every time now, just to make sure in certain situations. I'm okay with that.
So 2 quick things, right? I'm glad that I'm happy that the NFL is trying to get it right. Getting it right is so important, especially on big plays like illegal contact or illegal man downfield. Like a great huge play happens, and we're discussing whether a lineman was 2 yards downfield or 1 yard downfield. Didn't have any benefit on the play. The booth buzzed down. He was fine. He was engaged. And by the way, the funniest part about that rule, and I'm not trying to get too off my tangent, they have to be more than a yard down the line of scrimmage and not engaged in a block. Mm-hmm. If they're engaged in a block, they could be 4 yards down the line of scrimmage. Just grab them and push them that way. Like, it's so dumb. That rule is so stupid. So getting rules, getting them right. I love the expedited challenges, like where they buzz you down, like, nah, you kind of missed that one, because it is human error. Everything happens so fast. So you would rather them get it right than go look the next day and be like, we ruined the Super Bowl because of this.
And Gene, the way they're doing it, it almost it makes it feel like it's part of the referee process. So no longer are you like, that idiot threw the flag. You're just like, oh, as a team, they figured it out. And you're not mad at the refs. So anytime you can leave an NFL game not mad at the refs, I feel like the NFL is going in the right direction with that.
Completely agree with you. I don't like blaming the refs in games, but there's way too many games that are affected by calls. And guys, I was the first person to say it. I watched the Philadelphia Eagles play the Miami Dolphins last year. And I'm like, I was texting people, anybody was friends. I'm like, we were just the benefactor of a rigged football game. Yeah. Like there was like 10 penalties called on Miami and none on Philadelphia. Like I just want it right. Whether it's good for my team or bad, I just want it right.
And then the following week, the refs made up for it because whoever Miami played got like 11 on them, and Miami only got 1 on them. So ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Gentlemen, let's go rapid fire. We're going to give you the way too early over/under predictions that Vegas has put out. Obviously, there's still free agents out there. The draft hasn't happened yet. There's a lot more that's going to go into these. But based on where teams are after the bulk of the free agent signings, I'm going to give it to you. We'll go Mo, then Gene. Just give me an agree or disagree. Let's start with the reigning champs, the Kansas City Chiefs, looking for 3 in a row. 11.5, Mo. Over, under.
I'll go over.
I'll go under. It seems too easy.
Baltimore Ravens, 11.5.
I'll go under.
I'll go under. The AFC North is incredible.
This one kind of baffled me a little bit because I didn't think it'd be as high given what their team currently looks like. The Bengals at 10.5, Mo.
I'll go under.
I'll go over. I think they went 11.
Yeah, do you think so?
11.
Do you think they keep T?
No, I think they trade him, but we'll see.
Eagles, 10.5.
I'm gonna go over.
I'll go over, but it's lipstick on a pig.
The Atlanta Falcons with Kirk Cousins, 10.5.
I'll go under.
I'll go under too.
Chicago Bears at 8.5.
That's interesting. I'm gonna go under.
I'll go under too. Growing pains. Offensive line still not addressed.
Yeah.
Chargers with Jim Harbaugh. This one came off as a little low to me. It could go up, but it currently, I know they have no receivers, but it currently sits at 8.5.
I'm going to go over. I like Jim. I trust Jim.
I'm going to go under. They have way too many cap casualties this offseason.
They have a ton of them. The Pittsburgh Steelers, 7.5. New quarterback, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I'll go over on that.
Can I go incomplete? I don't know who the starter is going to be. I'm kidding.
I like
go over, hoping it's Field.
Incomplete.
The dumpster fire of the league last season is not in the bottom this season. The Arizona Cardinals, 6.5.
I'm going to go over.
Full season of K1, I'll go over.
And then the current dumpster fire of the league, the Carolina Panthers, is down there with the New England Patriots. They are both at 4.5. Mo, give me both. Panthers and Patriots. They're both at 4.5.
Panthers, I'll go under. Patriots, I'll go over.
I'll go over on both. I love what Gerard Mayo's doing, and I think that Bryce Young will take a step forward with the quarterback whisperer, Dave Canales.
So, Gene, we've heard all this rhetoric about Dak Prescott. A deal is going to get done. He has a huge, ridiculous cap number. They have to lower the cap hit for this season. Well, that's not going to be the case. Dak, they did a little bit of work. I think they took $5 or $6 million off his number to give a little bit of flexibility. But he is going to play on his current deal for this season. Jerry Jones addressed it. He was pretty transparent. He basically said, we all know where we are. We all know what it is. We all know what has to happen in the future. But for right now, it is what it is. And he's going to play 2024 on his current deal. And then technically he could become a free agent, or Dallas could sign him to an extension. Maybe something gets done during the season. I don't know. But Gene, if you're Dak Prescott, and more importantly, you play for the Dallas Cowboys, where you've seen them lock in a lot of players and you've seen them commit a lot of money before players go into the final year of their deal. And now Jerry Jones is just saying things like, We know where we are. It is what it is. We'll deal with it later. Should Dak look at that and be like, do I need to actually make a Super Bowl this year? Like, is it finally a make or break year like they say it is going to be every year? Is this them actually telling me, Gene, that I better make a Super Bowl?
Isn't this a big stretch from we're going all in this offseason? I don't know. I just like from where they were a month ago, talking about going all in this postseason. They can't restructure his contract. They can't get a new contract on. They were absolute quiet and free agency. And now it is what it is. Oh, well,
What?
it is what it is. I love this when this happens to the Dallas Cowboys, right? I think that they're in a particular area of purgatory that I love. It's the area where they're good enough to where you just don't disassemble everything, but they're not bad enough, but they're not good enough to win the Super Bowl. So like they're in an area of purgatory that I love that Dallas is in. Like they're relevant. So all the cockroach fans come out and they're like, go Cowboys. Yeah, this is our year. And then every year I get that one Monday morning. I don't know when it's going to be. It could be wild card round. It could be the divisional round. Could be the last week of the season. But I get that one Monday morning where they're all like, Dak's not it. He's just not the guy. We got to make changes. And I love it.
It is. It's this 9 to, maybe 12 win purgatory where they're going to compete for the division. They're going to get into the playoffs. They might win a playoff game. That's it. It never goes any further than that.
Amazing. They won the last play. They won a playoff game versus the broken down Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2 years ago, and I think they've won 4 playoff games since 1997. I just want you to think about that in your head.
Gene, we talked about this last time you were here. It's gained a ton more momentum in the week that has gone by since we last saw you. NFL executives are now calling J.J. McCarthy to the Commanders. Las Vegas odds are now calling J.J. McCarthy to the Washington Commanders. What in the world is pushing this narrative of McCarthy to the Commanders? We know smoke screens pop up during this time of the year, but it's not very often that a smoke screen will move the Vegas line or the smoke screen is going to have multiple NFL execs coming out and saying it. Usually you hear rumors and no one's really behind them because it's rumor season. But in the last week, this thing has just gained a life of its own. Jim Harbaugh's coming out and saying things like he's the best quarterback in the draft this season. He had the greatest pro day of any pro day I have ever seen in my life as a head coach. Now, this is the same Jim Harbaugh who said a year ago that he was going to have, 16 players drafted and his Michigan team was the greatest college football team of we know where Jim Harbaugh's coming from. But Gene, it's not going away. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Are they going to take J.J. McCarthy at number 2 in the draft?
Well, I got on my knees and I prayed for that. And if it happens, that would be amazing. Let me break down why J.J. McCarthy shouldn't be the second overall pick. I'm just going to give quick breakdown of it. Last year, Michigan's offensive line was ranked number 1. Their running game was ranked number 1 in all college football. He would be going to a team that was ranked 32nd offensive line in all of NFL. So he'd be going from the best offensive line to the worst offensive line. He'd be going to a team that had the 30th ranked run offense. So he'd go from the best in college football to almost the worst in the NFL. I am praying that they make the mistake of drafting J.J. McCarthy second overall. I think they're still in love with Jaden Daniels. I think that's where they're going to go. I think it is smoke. JJ is not. It's a big drop off between Caleb and Jaden. I think that there's a drop off to number 3, and there's another big drop off to number 4 and 5. In fact, I've said to you guys, I don't have J.J. McCarthy as a top 5 quarterback in this draft, and teams are falling in love with the Zach Wilson throw. Stop doing that. Anybody looks good with their shirt off on an open field. Like there's no defense, there's no coverage, there's no blitzing. He just drops back and throws the ball 100 as far as he possibly can. It reminds me of what's that movie? Or Uncle Rico throws the ball over the mountains. Like, great job. Like, come on, man. I think it's It's funny, and I hope it happens because they're in our division. That would be like you looking at the Jets and be like, yeah, they made another mistake. Let's go. But I don't think they. I think they eventually. I think Jaden Daniels is the guy. I think he will be the guy. And I think with the offensive minds that they have there, they're going to end up drafting Jaden Daniels.
Guys, Will Levis really perfected the shirtless throw in shorts, look good while I'm doing it throw. He is kind of the poster boy for that.
I mean, it happens all the time. It happened with Malik Willis. Malik Willis is another one. Threw the
Yeah.
ball great with his shirt off. Awesome. I'm glad. I want to see how you throw the ball with pads when a receiver is coming after you. I think, if I'm not mistaken, in his college career, I think he's only thrown 21 touchdown passes total. I think that's the number, and it's kind of absurd that we're being like, oh, he's the second best quarterback. This is just who it is.
Listen, when Jim Harbaugh gets behind someone, people listen, apparently. Gene, apparently there is a change being made to Hard Knocks. The Hard Knocks in-season version for this year is not going to follow one team. It's going to follow an entire division. Clearly, they're trying to bring in more fan bases. The in-season, I would argue, unless you're a fan of the team, the in-season is automatically better than the going into the season because it's just an interesting dynamic to see these players engage when real-life football is happening around them as opposed to the training camp preseason environment. But now, Gene, when you open up the scope and we're going to have 4 teams that we're going to talk about as opposed to 1, this is just an automatic home run for the NFL, is it not?
Why would it not be? You're getting at least 4 more fan bases engaged and their rivals. I would watch the Dallas Cowboys Hard Knocks just to be like, it stinks. Like, I don't know. I feel like rivals watch that. Like, I feel like I did. Maybe I'm just a psychopath, but like, I love watching Hard Knocks. And the Jets one this past year was phenomenal. I loved every bit of it, of the preseason one. Now, the Dolphins in-season one was great. I thought that was very good. But I'll go back to the Colts in-season one. That was one of my favorite ones I ever seen. And there's nobody that you fell in love with more and then hated more than Carson Wentz watching the in-season Colts. Like, it was just like, oh, this guy's great. Oh, this guy's a dick. Like, it happened so quick. Like, so quick over like 2 weeks. I'm like, oh. But
Gene,
I love it.
Where do you think they would lean if you had to pick a division?
I mean, I would love it to be the AFC North. That would be my favorite division all around. There's 4 great teams in that division. Look, would you be surprised if I told you that Justin Fields and Russell Wilson took the Pittsburgh Steelers into a deep playoff run this year?
No,
I wouldn't.
Okay, and I know you wouldn't be surprised if I said that Deshaun Watson came back to being 50% or 60% of what he was, and the Browns made a run. I mean, they almost made a run with Joe Flacco.
Yep.
And you have Joe Burrow, you have Lamar Jackson. You're definitely not surprised if they make a run. You have 4 competitive quality teams. And maybe that's just my, I love the spirit of that. I love watching the black and blue division play on football. And if it's not them, and see, the funny thing is it won't be the AFC East because they just did Jets Dolphins this past year. If it's not them, I think the division I'd most want to follow around would be the AFC West. Antonio Pierce with the Raiders. You get Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers. You got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And you have Sean Payton trying to build back a franchise that I don't know what he did with. And I want to see, I want to get a deeper dive into what's going on in Denver. So, I think that would be a bunch of intriguing storylines. So I'll go AFC North and then AFC West.
Gene, what's going on Wire to Wire Sports Podcast tonight, sir?
A lot of lists, man. We have the offensive line list, which will be fun. Best 5 offensive linemen coming out of college. We have our outfielders list, which is always controversial. 2 years ago, I got crucified when I said Mike Trout hit his peak already and that he's not going to be the best outfielder in baseball. And all of a sudden, 2 years later, I guarantee you Mike Trout's not in anyone's top 3. Nothing against Mike. I love Mike. And then we have basically our quarterfinals for the sports characters bracket, which has been heating up. So we're going to go over the Midwest and the South tonight. Second round matchups.
Coach Taylor.
He's gone. We're also, it's funny you say that. We're also going to be covering the March Madness tournament. So like everything that's been going on with March Madness. So we'll give you an update on the brackets, who's leading the brackets, and we'll get into that too.
Gene, before you get out of here, since it is the story that is dominating the sports world right now, we will ask your take on it. Where do you fall on one Shohei Ohtani?
I love that you asked that question. I've been dying to give an answer to this, and I hate that I missed Monday. So I believe in the United States judicial system, and I believe someone is innocent until proven guilty. And I think that there's a lot of real serious people that have problems with the fact that he's a Japanese ball player. I feel like if this was Freddie Freeman, it'd be covered completely differently. I think that people are, and the comparison to Pete Rose just makes me sick. And if you guys haven't said it on the show, let me be the first. I'm telling you right now, if you compare Shohei Ohtani to Pete Rose without any evidence, you're a bad person. And you need to do some research on what happened with Pete Rose. The guy had sex with a 15-year-old girl and said, "Oh, that was 50 years ago, babe," to a female reporter that asked him that question. He is a bad person. He gambled on sports. He gambled on his own team. What Pete Rose did is a million times worse than what Shohei Ohtani is being accused of. A lot of it seems fishy, right? I think he lent his friend money that was in a gambling debt. That's my opinion. But do not pass judgment too quickly. You remember what we did to that punter, Matt Ariza, passed judgment. And then all stuff came out, and he was not. I can't stand that how people are guilty until proven innocent, guilty by association. He can't be a victim of a crime. It's possible. I don't know. But I want the facts to play out before I pass judgment on someone. And even if he is guilty of lending his friend money, I don't think that's nearly as bad as what Pete Rose did.
If he gave the friend money, should he get fined by the Major League Baseball?
Fine, suspend it, yeah. I mean, suspend him for 50 games. If he knew about it and he was giving the friend money and it was illegal in the state of California, fine. But like what Pete Rose did earned him a lifetime ban from baseball. And the comparisons, and Pete Rose he even went on social media and made a video about like how, well, if Shohei can get away with it, I should be in the Hall of Fame. Like, you're so oblivious.
I knew he was going to
do what you did. Like, I can't. If he gambled on baseball, he should be banned. That's what Chris asked. If he was the one gambling on baseball and throwing games, he should be banned from baseball. But I don't know the answer to that. So I don't want to pass judgment until I'm 100% sure.
And I don't think many people even think he gambled on baseball. I think that the put off, Gene, is just the fact of why is the truth just so hard? why does it seem so hard in this situation just to be honest about what happened?
Bro, his teammates didn't even know he had a dog. You want to talk about a guy like that's wild. Like, he's a very private person. I think that Shohei Ohtani is different. And I think if we want to, it's funny. There's a quick quote. They build you up in the Michael Jordan movie. They build you up so high until you're unreachable, and then they tear you down so low, and you have to be tough to get through it. And with Shohei Ohtani, they're trying to tear down the best baseball player we've seen since Babe Ruth. Mm-hmm. I would rather wait until the facts come out before I tear down a guy that's the best baseball player we might ever see.
Gene, always appreciate having you here on Wednesdays, sir. We'll see you tonight in the comments.
Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Mo, always a pleasure having Gene here on the show on Wednesdays. I know some of you were asking in the chat, where's Will? Will's not here. Like us, Will was also feeling under the weather today. But he'll be back next week to talk NBA basketball with us. So don't you worry about that. Mo, before we get out of here, we do have a mailbag question. The mailbag question comes from Timothy. No last name was given. Timothy wants to know our take on WWE going back to more language and a little more violence on TV as of late, kind of opening the door for what looks to be like not a return to the Attitude Era, but more of an openness to embrace those kind of things, especially with the Netflix deal on the horizon. What are your thoughts there, Mo?
I saw the show, the SmackDown, and obviously what happened between The Rock and Cody Rhodes, and I was like, and as it was going on, I was like, Attitude Era, huh? We're kind of bringing it a bit. I don't have a problem with them maybe incorporating a little bit of the Attitude Era into the current era. I'm fine with that. It shakes things up a little bit, but I would say the package, the entertainment, the what they're putting out right now is terrific. So yes, you want to try that for the build up and what's going on with this current storyline. I get it. I don't think that you need to embrace it company wide in every story.
I agree. I agree.
I'll leave it there.
If I don't care how big of a wrestling fan you are, I don't care how much you loved wrestling. If you go back and you just, let's take 1999, and you just sat down and you watched every Raw from 1999, you would see a lot of great stuff that you remembered, right? And you would love it. Right. You would also see a lot of stuff where you were like, ooh, who thought that was a good idea? Because that's what the Attitude Era was. You remember the great things from it, but let's not forget there was a bunch of other stuff they did that you don't really recall off the top of your mind that wasn't that great. So I have no issue with them taking elements of it and infusing it into certain feuds to elevate the feud, which is exactly what they're doing, right. Especially with Rock and Cody. I am all for that. But first of all, we're never going to return to what the Attitude Era was because you can't do that on TV right now. And second of all, there's no need to. Wrestling has evolved from the Attitude Era, and the way that we as fans want to consume wrestling has evolved. We would much rather see, Seth Rollins and CM Punk bring their real life issues into a promo in 2024 than we would want to see some of the nonsense sideshow carnival stuff that was part of the Attitude Era that was for shock value, but didn't really have layers or substance to it.
There was some wild stuff.
There was some wild stuff.
And it's a lot of stuff that wouldn't play today.
Correct. You look at the Punk promo from Monday in Chicago, it was great. McIntyre doesn't like CM Punk. Punk doesn't like McIntyre. There were some real things happening there.
Right.
We know Rollins doesn't like CM Punk, and we know that Punk doesn't like Rollins. There was some real stuff happening in that promo, but they went out there and they all did business together, and it was a great 11 minutes of TV. And if that's the stuff we're going to keep leaning into, then let's do it, because not everything has to be what it was. And I love what Rock is doing with the Final Boss. I love that he incorporated the Moana line when he was taunting Cody's mom. I don't mind a little bit of blood here and there when you need it, but I think they're all doing it with the right proportion as we head into WrestleMania.
I like the way you put that. The right proportion. Let's just the cut and dry of it. I do remember the great parts of the Attitude Era, but there's some stuff that if you tried that now, man, you can't do that. There's some stuff that made you go, wow, that
no one wants
back then.
Naked Midian in 2024. Nobody wants that.
and you definitely can't do a Val Venus now. None of that.
Mo, close us out, sir.
Appreciate you guys for joining us live. Thank you so much for all the support. Check out all the great content that we have at Wire to Wire Network. You've already listened to me and Chris. Give us a like, a sub, a follow. Any kind of support, we greatly appreciate it. Wire to Wire Network. Check us out.
Hey, make sure you're back here same time, same place tomorrow morning. JG will be here to do his predictions for the American League. We will continue to follow if there's any updates with the Shohei Ohtani situation. Plus, we have more NFL draft stuff. All of that and more. Coffee and sports. It's the morning show, powered by Wire to